Hello. Now this video is to tell you of how God has been so faithful to us. My wife and I are celebrating our 5th year wedding anniversary, and I was telling her that truly if God has said yes, go ahead on a thing, on the account of that alone is enough for you to step out. You don't necessarily have to see many things play out or come in together before you step out. And so that is what we did. That's our testimony, and we did, and it's been 5 amazing, beautiful years. We do not want to spare you, but to tell you that for some of you who are getting ready to say yes to that Mr. Right or Miss Right, and some of you who are already in your marital bliss, you can trust God's word. If he has said go ahead, whether on career, whether marriage, you can go ahead and truly trust his grace. The truth is that we do not know how powerful we are until we step out. We will not be able to know what God has invested into us, the kind of power that is latent on the inside of us, until we dare to step into the things he's called us to step into. And so for us, that is our story.
It's been 5 amazing years of God's faithfulness. I mean, I'm still in awe of what God can make out of a man who chose to walk with him.
So scariest moment. Okay. One of the scariest moments that I will never forget is when we're getting ready to have our second baby, Noble. Now, there were a whole lot of things that play out that season that I wouldn't want to go into details because of time. In another session, we may be able to tell you details of what happened. At this time, we were just coming out from a phase. We were defrauded, which led us to a big deficit. We had to sell basically everything at the time we got married. And so at this point, we were just trying to, get out of the situation. I told my wife that we had to come into something I call neutral gear, like when you're driving and you are not accelerating, we're just waiting on God to lead us. And so that is what we did. And then we were getting ready to receive or welcome Noble. And I remember that particular week, even the basic needs of welcoming the baby was a big challenge at this point. So the baby came, and at the nick of time, God made a supply very much available, and got out of the hospital gloriously. We didn't owe a single dime. All the needs of the baby, I think the basic need was supplied for, and there were no complications whatsoever. I think God went ahead of us. It was just about going to the hospital and just deliver the baby and then come out seamlessly, and then all the bills, the little bills of, but the way I would want to welcome this young man was not the way it was. So it was quite challenging. But
Look at the way he was just saying it as though it was just like a walk in the park. That moment was actually really very scary. And to know that I was expecting a baby was really challenging. And God came through for us. For me, one of the moments that was actually very challenging for me too was when our first child, our daughter Eden, was sick. And the most challenging part was that those moments when she was having those sickness, we were just all by ourselves because nobody understood. During the day, she would just be everywhere playing. She's a very vibrant child, very expressive. But in the night, she would be having noisy sleep, and it was so scary. Like I had never seen anything like that all my life. She could literally not breathe well. She would try to breathe while sleeping. She wouldn't be able to. And it was just so uncomfortable. For nights, we would not sleep. My husband and I, we would be holding hands. And when we get to the hospital, she wasn't sleeping there, so they don't even really understand what was happening. And no matter how you try to explain to them, because the child was just up and running around in the daytime, they didn't really understand. To a point that we went for some tests. We went to see some specialists, and we were expected to carry out a surgery on her. And that moment was really, really challenging for me. We knelt down, we prayed, we fasted, and let me give you a shocker. We didn't carry out the surgery. God came through. Something happened the day we were supposed to go for a particular scan. We were just getting ready. And my husband went into the bathroom to have his shower. And he heard God clearly that money I provided is not for the hospital. It's for you guys to use for yourselves. And then he came out and told me. It was a moment of faith for me to accept such, because the child was even still sleeping. And he said he heard that God told him that Eden is already healed. But the child was still exhibiting those things that he was doing. So how would you tell me that Eden is already healed? We should go ahead and use the money for eating and other things. While we were supposed, on the doctor's report, we were supposed to go for a scan, then report at the hospital a certain date for the surgery to be carried out. And I believed him, just as always. I accepted and I believed him. I said, okay, if God says so, I believe. We held our hands and we prayed and we thanked God immensely. We thanked God and worshipped God immensely. And then we left it to God. Even though we hadn't seen the physical manifestation of what God was saying, but in few days' time we saw it. And the child was absolutely okay. But something happened again. Few weeks or a week or so, she started exhibiting that, and I was so angry. I literally had to say with my mouth, I said, God, if you know you were not going to heal this child, why did you deceive us? Why didn't you let us go to the hospital? Because the date they gave us to come back for the surgery had already passed. My husband was like, God doesn't lie. I should just trust and believe in him. If he said the child is healed, then the child is healed, and he believes. I said, okay, I had to repent. I said, I believe too. I didn't know when the whole thing ceased again. And from then till now, it's been over a year. That thing never, from now till eternity, never resurfaced again. And that is one of the moments that I was really scared, and God came through.
We can laugh over it right now. Hearing my wife talking about her own part of the things that scared her the most. That day when the Lord said, the child is healed, the money I gave to you, I don't give it to you so you can spend it or give it to a doctor. That is how he said it. He said, I've healed Eden now. Let me reiterate what the Lord said. I've healed Eden now. The money I've just given, look at you, the money I've just given to you, it's not for you to give it to any doctor. The child is healed. So when the voice of God came and said, I've healed her, and now the thing with me is that once the Lord has said it, stop. I don't know about you, I didn't bother to. It resurfaced again, but I didn't until we came to the end of it. It never came back again. And from now to eternity, we didn't have to witness that again. God has healed her, he has healed her.
Okay, so what I've learned in these 5 years, I've learned patience, I've learned tolerance, I have learned to multitask as a mother, as a wife. I got married while I was still in school. So I've learned to combine my academics with marriage. I've learned to be doing a whole lot of other things too, like career-wise. So I've learned to multitask. I've also learned to trust God more and to know God for myself. Some kind of things will happen to you, or you go through some phases that you can't help but find God for yourself. I was born into a Christian family, so it was just like we've known God all our lives. We've been going to church, but in ways that I have experienced God in my marriage, after I got married, is a completely different ball game altogether. I've learned to have a personal walk with God. So I've learned all of that in my marriage. I have learned to forgive too. Oh God, marriage is all about forgiving. I have learned to be a leader, a role model. I've been that all my life, but in another dimension, it is way different. And I've learned to also know that it is good to marry a friend, because all of the things we've had to go through, different phases, different stages, if not that we were really friends, and we've had God lead the way, that have been something else. But we went through all of those phases as though nothing was happening. We were canceling others. We were just rolling, literally. And it's been all God.
The 5 years has taught me patience. Yeah. That there were times I needed to respond to certain things. But if you do, you will be destroying things. So learn to wait, learn to be patient. Before I got married, I thought I was one patient young man. But marriage came to test a dimension of it, will test a dimension of you. So I had to learn necessarily to wait and be patient on another level, another scale altogether. So that's what these many days has taught me. So how do we handle argument? Okay, now if you are not married, let me say this as a disclaimer. If you're not married, don't think that marriage is always bed of roses. Don't conclude that you are not going to have arguments in your marriage. Don't conclude that there are not going to be fights. As a matter of fact, when two people of different orientation come together, like it is in marriage, there's always going to be a clash of interest. And now when the other person has this interest and you have a different interest and you're not quickly able to harmonize them, that is where there is argument. So how do we sort it out anytime we have to argue? We argue, but you see, we argue constructively. This is how I put it. We argue constructively. At some point I want my point to be heard, and at the same time, being an intelligent person that she is, she also wants her voice to be heard. And so that brings a lot of tussle. But how I handle it personally is that when I see that the atmosphere is too tense to a particular degree, I withdraw. I just withdraw, I stop talking, and sometimes I'll just quickly, politely, sometimes rashly too, step out of the house. Now by the time I'll be returning back, I feel the atmosphere of always, which it does, the atmosphere would have been calm. And one good thing with my wife is that when I step out like that and I come back, she doesn't visit the situation again. The worst will be that she will just be quiet. She will still say welcome. She will still say welcome and say thank you, and then we'll just stay, and then God has helped us to be able to manage argument many times. Now we'll try and come to a drawing board and then talk. If we see that talking over it again is bringing another, hot emotion, I will try and shut it down. I think I'm always the one learning to shut it down. She tries sometimes, but I think I have learned to shut it down anytime and regulate the temperature anytime it's heating to a point where it will begin to burn things. So that's how we handle argument.
Oh, those of you that were married before, now not quick tell us now. Now not tell us and I say they be. We were thinking it would be rosy, only lovey-dovey. It shocked me. It shocked us. Oh God. That's how it's been, but I thank God for the grace to understand ourselves each time we have an argument, each time we have different opinions. My husband and I, we are like almost the same kind of temperament. I like saying out my opinions, and that leads to a whole lot of debates between us. We have lots of debates. We have lots of arguments. One thing with argument is that when the other person talk, it builds up your emotion and you want to talk back. It is boiling in your heart, but sometimes it's very difficult to keep quiet when you are being angered. But these days, I've been learning and trying to be quiet when I'm angry, so as not to say things that you end up regretting later. Because sometimes my husband likes to hold me by my words. He'll be like, how can you say this when you say that word? But all of the other things that happened before I say that word, he will not remember them. No. He will just be remembering only that one word. Oh God. So just like he said, he has already painted the picture of what do happen. Sometimes we argue. When he steps out, he comes back. One thing with us is that each day we try to iron out the difference before we sleep. Say, okay, this was why I say this. Sometimes when your intentions are said, you discover that you've been arguing for nothing. You've been fighting for nothing. Because sometimes those intentions are pure. But you are not the other person. So the person might not understand what you're trying to say, because everybody have a different way of reasoning. So by the time, but with time, I've discovered that we've been thinking more alike, and our thoughts have been synergizing. So those hot quarrels have been reducing. And that's how we've been. Never had to invite anybody to come and help us resolve fights or anything. We learned how to trash it all by ourselves and deal with it to the root. We don't try to mask it up so it doesn't repeat the next day. And each time we do that, we forgive ourselves wholeheartedly, and it ends there. Okay. Thank you all for watching to the end, and God bless you.
Thank you.
If you've not subscribed, do well to do so. And follow our page, subscribe, like the video. We love you.